Here we go. Welcome to episode 2. What's up? My name is Natalie Cash, Nat Cash Radio, hanging out in Chill Pill Studios. I love it here. I really do. Thank you for watching. I got to give a big shout out before we get started to a guy named Steve Nall. I'm walking in my neighborhood. Never go for a walk in my neighborhood. I'm at the stop sign. This guy, he stops his truck and he says, "Is your name Natalie Cash?" He literally gets out of his truck. I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I watched your podcast. I loved it." I was like, "Steve, I love you. Thank you for watching it. I appreciate it." You guys can watch the podcast, YouTube. We're going to get on Spotify. We're going to get on iTunes. We're going to get on all the platforms very, very soon. Go to natcashradio.com. You can check it out there. But right now, you can see the full episode on YouTube. Now, a couple of things I do have coming up. I am a part of a music festival. I've never hosted a music festival in my life. Summer Stock Fest. You guys got to go to summerstockfest.com. Summer Stock Festival is coming up September 14th. I'm hosting the main stage. Midlife Crisis Band going to be there. You can go to summerstockfest.com, purchase your tickets. But again, happening September 14th at Wampa, Tulsa in Sand Springs. Also September 12th, St. Simeon's is putting on a charity. It's called Western Days. I'm going to be hosting that. You can get your tickets at St. Simeon's, their website, and I'll put a link up there, and you can check it out, and it's going to be a great cause. All right, let's get to our first guest. His name is Mark Delaney. Thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Let's go. I'm ready.
I love this. I love that you're here. The other day we were talking on the phone, and I said, "Mark, are you a therapist?" And you said, "No, I'm a drug dealer of purpose and freedom."
Yeah.
What does that even mean? Because I said this to my dad, and he's like, of course, he's like, "Drug dealer? What are you saying?"
Yeah, I think that the greatest problem with most people is that we stop living for something, and instead we just live against what's gone wrong.
Okay.
Instead of living for who I was made to be, I just live against what I've become.
So I'm 46 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I very recently lost my job, and I've done radio for 20 years of my life, this same career, and now it's time for me to pivot. As someone like that, someone that is 46 years old, are they still trying to find their purpose, no matter the age?
I would say the majority of people never know their purpose.
Really?
Yeah, because it's scary.
It really is.
It's like, how you can try for a while, and then the question becomes, how can I ever know it?
Right.
And then it's like, well, if you can't know it, let's just forget about it and stop this desperate pursuit. And then you can have the problem of, with age, it's like, well, it's too late for me to have a purpose. So like, I don't even want to know it now, because then there'll be this massive dose of disappointment. Because if I know my purpose now, I'll just be like, well, I can't do it now. So the older you get, you're like, I don't think I want to talk about it.
How do you switch that mindset?
I wish I had a way of helping people to switch it, because I think human instinct is we close ourselves off so that we don't become exposed. Like, I wish there was something, a button I could push and just help people realize that you can be free. And part of that freedom is you can know who you're made to be and go chase that life. It doesn't matter where you've been, what's happened. It doesn't matter how old you are. But I think that the reason we can't switch it is because we're trying to fix our life instead of being reminded of what our life was made to be all along. And the more we try to fix ourselves, we can't find it. And it's this exhausting pursuit. I like to use metaphors and pictures because they just communicate a lot. But I think about life being a treasure hunt. And on this treasure hunt, it's supposed to be full of things like love and meaning and joy and fun. But it's like this treasure hunt, there's this path we're on in this crazy wild wilderness. And at some point, we get off that path and we end up like in the woods, lost. And when we're lost in the woods, like we run out of rations, we get tired, we get poison ivy, we get snake bites, we sprain our ankle. And we end up like lost in this bush of existence. And our life becomes the constant rumination of poison ivy and snake bites. And we've forgotten, wait, there's treasure out here.
Yeah.
And my life is supposed to be the pursuing of it.
Okay, so you're 25 years old, okay? And you're trying to find your career in life. Do you think purpose and career go hand in hand, or do you think someone's purpose is more than their career?
Someone's purpose must be more than their career.
Right.
We say this all the time in our mastermind. We tell people, your jobs don't bring you purpose. You bring your purpose to your job.
Oh, that's a nugget right there.
And it's true.
It's so true.
Like your job, you don't get a job and then be like, oh my gosh, my life has so much purpose. Jobs will never give you purpose.
I struggle with that, man. I really do.
Jobs don't do it. And when we hear real stories from people, we see how this plays out all the time. We see professional athletes. I heard a story of a man who was on the roster for the New York Yankees. I think it was the late 90s, maybe 2000. He wasn't prominent, but he was on the roster when they won the World Series. So you talk about the pinnacle of career.
Yeah.
You play for the Yankees and you just won the World Series. And that night they were out celebrating and they were going from bar to bar, restaurant to restaurant. And there were these limos that were taking them from place to place. And he said, between a couple of those places, I sat in the front seat with a limo driver. Mm-hmm. He said, I asked him, is this all this is? And he asked the driver to pull over on the bridge because he wanted to jump.
Wow.
Because probably since he was 5 years old.
He wanted to be a baseball player.
And that's going to fulfill you, right?
Yeah.
It's going to make you feel magical and meaningful and fulfilled. And here he is at the very pinnacle. Mm-hmm. You're on the roster. You play for the Yankees. And you've just won the World Series. And all there was a massive emptiness.
Okay, so is this where freedom comes in?
That's part of freedom, yes. Freedom. I was just in a prison last week talking to inmates, and we were talking about freedom. I was like, what is it? And this one inmate, in very simple terms, he just said, I think freedom is a mental thing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
I love to take people on a journey. Usually what we do for people is we draw pictures and tell stories to help people kind of see what's happened in their life, to kind of understand it. It's not a deep dive to like fix yourself, because you can't fix yourself.
Like the traumas.
Yeah, you can't fix the past. Like I wish we could. I would love to tell people you can fix your past.
But you can kind of fix it, can't you?
You have to have freedom. When people become free, it's amazing how much the past becomes fixed. But if you're trying to fix your past to become free, the prison bars only become stronger. Freedom comes first. Same with problems. Like people have like addictions and they think, well, as soon as I stop drinking, as soon as I lose weight, as soon as I stop gambling, then I can be free. You can't. I think the problem with humanity is not the problems we have. It's the absence of what life was made to be. I think that to really simplify it, let's say you have a 4-year-old boy that is told it's wrong to eat the cookies on the counter. Mm-hmm. Like, don't do that. If you're a good person, don't do that. Cookies are bad for you. And if you love me as your dad, you won't eat those cookies. Well, let's say they eat the cookies. Should we sign that kid up for like Cookie Anonymous classes? And like ask them, Tommy, why did you eat those cookies? What were you thinking? Mm-hmm. Do you have an issue with your dad or with your mom? Like, we can try to help him figure himself out. And then Tommy can begin to wake up every day thinking, I'm going to be a good boy. I'm not going to eat the cookies on the counter. What an exhausting way of living.
Right.
But what if the reason he ate the cookies on the counter is because that day it was so busy around the house. There's other siblings. There's a remodel project happening. And let's say we forgot to feed him lunch.
Yeah.
And we didn't have time for him to go in the backyard and play like he normally does. So here is this starving child, and there's cookies on the counter. How terrible would it be for us to help him think that the problem of his life is that he ate the cookies on the counter? See, many people are that 4-year-old. There's something they're doing in their life, and they think their goal is to stop that. And they don't see that they're so malnourished of the goodness of life. And they're turning to substances, not because they're a bad person. They're turning to substances because their life no longer has substance.
How do we give it substance?
Ugh, this is like something we have to learn to fight for. This is why when I talk to people, I like to ask them, who were you made to be? Because as long as you're trying to fix yourself, your life will never have substance. It's exhausting to wake up to fix yourself. Like, this is why our first goal with people, I don't care what someone's problem is, our goal is, what's your purpose? Because the more that you chase purpose, the more you begin to fill your life with substance. Every time you go do something good with someone else, you're creating substance and fulfillment in your life. Every time you go serve somebody, every time you play pickleball with your friends, every time you go help someone, when you chase the dreams and the goals of things that you want to do in this world, you're creating substance in your life. Every time you wake up to fix your problem, you're depleting yourself of what your heart longs for.
So you're saying that in everything we do, even if it's going to the store, there's a purpose in that.
Oh, my. Why not?
Right?
Why not?
It could be just to say hi to the guy at Quick Trip.
Yes.
I like that, man.
I think that's how life must be lived.
It's good.
I think this is how we can turn our lives into a great adventure. Just the other day, a friend of mine sent me a text. Because he signed up to walk a mountain with some friends, and he has to get in shape. And
That
he
doesn't
said,
sound fun.
no. But this is a way you fill your life with meaning and purpose, is you go do things with people, even if it's challenging. It's better than staying home eating chips.
So
No.
your life's purpose doesn't have to be some one big grand thing. It's really not that deep. It could just be to serve in everything you're doing.
It's simple and it's powerful. You know what happens when most people look for their purpose to be a grand thing? They do no thing.
Because they're disappointed.
Yes, where is the grand thing? It doesn't exist. The grand thing is the thing that just comes out of your life because you're doing simple, bold things all the time. The more that we search, a guy in Chicago reached out to me, and 45 years old, great guy, great intentions. He cares so much about life, but his problem is how he thinks about purpose. He said, I feel like I've lived my whole life looking for a dot. Where's this exact place I belong at?
Yeah.
Where's this exact job? Where's this exact place of gifting? It doesn't exist. You know where your place of gifting is? Where you are right now.
Sitting right here with Mark Delaney.
Yes, and this is my place of gifting. So the guy that I was talking about was going to climb the mountain. So he texted me and said, hey, you want to climb the mountain with me tomorrow morning? Actually, it's a hill. There's a hill here in Tulsa. We call it Mountain Man Hill. And I was like, sure. Because I never turn down people.
I'm bad at that, though.
Why? Listen, when a human being invites you to do something good with them, it's almost a miracle. We should never turn down miracles. So it ended up being the next day at 6 a.m. on Saturday, Greg is picking me up, and we're driving down the street and pouring down rain to go walk up a hill together. Mm-hmm. It was amazing. It was hard. It was amazing. The conversation that we had, and we talked about how, you know what? It was during the Olympics. We're like, we're basically in the Olympics. Like people in the Olympics, there's thousands of people watching. It's
Yeah.
on television. The fact that there was nobody there watching us and there was no television camera, that's the world's fault. That me and Greg are in the Olympics. Like, look at us. We're climbing this
You're
mountain.
involved.
We are totally 30,000 foot view. Me and Greg walking up Mountain Man Hill is not really different than these famous Olympians somewhere in some gym doing their thing.
You think?
What we are doing, what me and Greg were doing, is just as awesome as what they are doing. It's not different. It's human beings experiencing life together.
Okay, so I want to retract a little bit. You said something about, you're like, we're never going to fix it,
Yeah.
but we can heal, right?
Not if you're trying to fix it.
Okay. Well,
Yes, we can have healing.
But don't they go hand in hand? Let's say, I mean, a terrible thing would be, I don't know, you had an awful childhood, let's say,
Yeah.
and you kind of bring it into your adulthood. How do you heal from that and try and find your purpose at the same time?
Yeah, I think there again, there's a whole picture I'd love to draw that tells this whole story that helps us to see our life differently. This relates to my story because, frankly, I think my story and your story are the same. I think everyone's story is pretty much the same. We kind of venture off into life with some good intentions. Mm-hmm. And whether your good intentions got sidetracked when you were 7 or 12 or 25, at some point it's like you end up off this path that you belonged on. And you end up in this place, and I felt like this because the man I am today is a free man. But 7 years ago, I wasn't. 7 years ago, I felt like I lived in a prison. It was kind of a nice prison.
Why is that?
Because I was trying to fix myself. And most of my life, my problem was weight and food. And it's just what I thought about all the time. I was either indulging in it or hating myself for indulging in it, or wondering what people thought about how I looked, or hating how I looked, or hating my problem, wondering why I can't fix my problem. And it's like I'm in this prison cell, and it's on the back of my book. I had my friend draw a picture of this. It's like you're in a prison cell, and there's this big box that represents your problem.
I like that, yeah.
And there's this big box, and you're like, okay, I'm going to get rid of this. But these prison bars are like imaginary. So every time you try to be like, all right, I'm getting rid of this, and you can't. Mm-hmm. And you don't realize, I'm going to try again, and you can't. You try again, and you can't. And this box keeps hitting these prison bars. And it's like, the more you're in this prison, you're convinced that I must fix this box. This box must be fixed. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like the right thinking. I've got to heal myself. I've got to figure this out. I have to solve this. I have to unwind my past. I have to fix my problem. And the more you think that way, the more you think that way.
And the more you're trapped.
And the more you're trapped. The prison bars get stronger. They get bigger. They get wider. And the thing is, the prison door is open. It's not locked. What you can't get rid of your problem to gain your freedom. You have to have freedom to leave your problem. Freedom comes first. And it's like, so for me, it was like realizing that prison door is not locked. Mm-hmm. And I condemned myself so many times. Like, how pathetic are you that you can't stop eating too much? How dumb is that? How ridiculous is that?
Food is so good, though.
But it's just like, it was this constant condemnation of myself, this constant, like,
you were your worst enemy.
Up. Yes, we all are.
Yeah.
We all are. And we think that we have to fix the problem to get out of the prison. And that is why we keep trying to either solve our problem or hide our problem. What we need to have is something far greater outside of that prison to go pursue. and realize that that door is not locked. Mm-hmm. It's not locked. People do not need to be fixed. They need to be free. And
to find their purpose.
Yeah, freedom and purpose, they kind of need to go together, because the biggest bondage is not that you think about your problem. The biggest bondage is that you think about yourself. It almost feels moral for me to think about my problem. Well, if I'm thinking about my problem, you know what I'm not thinking about? You.
As in me.
Yeah.
As in yourself.
No, anyone in my life that I should be loving. I should be loving people instead of hating myself.
Exactly.
I should be loving people and helping them with anything in their life instead of focusing on myself and hating me for problems I have. I should love people instead.
Right.
Purpose is always outside of us. Purpose is always other people. It's something far bigger than our problem, far more captivating. I would say that purpose is much more intoxicating than the problem of alcohol. But people don't allow themselves to be intoxicated by purpose because they're so busy beating themselves up because they're intoxicated by alcohol.
And they're trapped in their own prison.
Yes. Not the prison of our problem, but the prison of how we think about our problem.
Is that why the saying, let go?
But how does someone let go?
Right.
Like that is...
Especially when you're traumatized.
Yes. Like letting go still involves action steps. Like you can't just be like, well, I'm just going to let it go. There's still something you have to do. I love playing disc golf. And to throw a disc well, you have to just let it go. The harder you try, the worse it goes. But you still have to have it in your hand and actually throw it.
Right.
You can't just be like, you can't put the Frisbee on the ground and be like, I'm just going to let it go. Like you still have a part to play in it.
You still have to go like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
You still have a part to play in it. And in our story, it's a fascinating thing. There's probably the most profound statement about human change was this. If you want to find your life, you have to lose it. But human instinct is, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to figure it out. We can't figure it out. I'm not saying the past doesn't matter. I am boldly saying you can't unwind it. I think that when a person leaves the prison cell, conversations about the past are beautiful and powerful. But if I'm inside the prison cell and I think I have to fix my past before I can get out of here, I think those conversations about the past tend to make the prison stronger. Because as long as I'm telling myself I have to fix the past or fix my problems before I can get out of here, that is the number one thought that's holding us back. We need to leave that prison, go love people, go serve people, go dream a dream, go climb a mountain, go start a business. And while you're doing that, be willing to be honest and face the past. We don't have to fix it. We don't have to face it. It's a delicate balance. Because many people, the instinct is, I have to fix my past. No, you don't. You do have to face it. But facing it, when you are free, facing your past is a wonderful opportunity because there's great insight about yourself that comes out of it. But after you're free and you realize, wait, you mean my past doesn't have a hold on me? Mm-hmm. Well, if it doesn't have a hold on me, I can talk about it. It no longer has its fangs on my neck. Right. If the past no longer has power over me, I can talk about it because it doesn't have me anymore.
So releasing and let going of your past will help you find your purpose and your freedom.
Yeah.
To what this is called life.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's not fixing our past that happens for it. The past is never fixed. That's actually good news.
Why is that good news?
Because you can stop trying to fix your past. because it can't be fixed.
Right?
Who, have you ever heard someone say, I fixed my past?
Right. Like I'm healed. Well, I mean, I guess you can be
think
healed, but you're
we
not.
can
But
be.
it's not fixed. Like you can't go back
Right.
and take it back.
It's more of it's a healing, it's a freedom, it's a redemption. It's like, yes, the past happened, but because of what life has become with freedom, the past is now used for good. Wow. The junk of my life used for good.
You know what that's called? Your testimony.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we all have it.
We all have a great testimony.
But you know what we want? We want a testimony of how we fixed ourselves.
Right, because then we're helping people.
It sounds impressive. Nobody fixes themselves. Humans don't do that. Humans don't fix humans. But we can all have freedom.
So tell me about this book. Is this what Leaving the Habit You Hate to Live the Life You Love?
Yeah.
When did you write this?
It took me about 5 years because I had to live it while I was writing it.
Okay.
It came out last year. It's One Step to Freedom. It's my story, and it's a story of many people in my life, and I think everyone, that basically, that picture on the back of the prison cell, we tend to think we have to fix our problem to gain our freedom. And instead, there's a pathway to freedom that we can leave our problem. At one point, I probably weighed close to 400 pounds. Mm-hmm. And it didn't help to beat myself up with that problem. I couldn't, all I could do was try to hide it.
Was there a day that you were like, okay, today's the day I'm going to change? Or did it just gradually, your mindset start to shift?
My biggest problem was the hiding of the problem.
Yeah.
In that prison cell, you have a couple choices. You try to hide your problem, or you decorate your prison bars so everyone thinks you're living a good life. I was kind of decorating my prison bars for people, but I couldn't talk about the real me. I couldn't talk about my problem.
Right.
I could talk about.
Ashamed.
Yes, sure. I could talk about anything, but that problem, I would never talk about. And I would say for the majority of people, their problem is that they're capable of hiding their problem.
You get really good at it.
You get really good at it. And that's how you live in prison.
Right.
It's the hiding of having the problem. Like, humans have problems. It's not really a big deal. It's our ability to hide it that causes us to live in bondage. So for me, it was like, as long as I can buy a shirt that's loose, I'm fine, right?
Yeah.
So I just keep going further down the rack to the next X. And as long as it's loose, like every day you wake up and you put on a shirt and it's like, okay, it's loose, so I guess I'm fine. I can pretend I'm fine.
So what did you do? Go to the gym?
No, I found freedom. I finally talked to a man for the first time in my life, a man who I saw his story on it was a Zoom meeting we were in with various people around the country. I didn't know this man. He used to weigh more than 300 pounds. He went down below 200. And I was just, as a man, I think I was more desperate to live a life that mattered than I was desperate to be skinny. But this problem was so attached to me, and I couldn't live this way. Mm-hmm. And I called him, and we had a conversation. And for the first time, I was honest about me. Mm-hmm. It was, in the conversation, I remember talking to him, and just, the conversation wasn't about food. It wasn't about exercise. How you were feeling up here. It was all the thinking. And I finally just, like, out of the years of compensating and hiding and compensating and pretending and hiding, and I finally was just like, Alan, I'm going to die young. I'm going to eat myself to death. And my funeral is going to be all these people that know me because I taught at a school, so I knew a lot of people. And they're all going to be sitting there thinking, Mark was a good guy.
He loved his food.
If he would have, if he'd have stopped eating, maybe he'd do something with his life. I said, Alan, I feel like my funeral is going to be young, and on the front row are my 3 kids, and my life will have never shown them what freedom looks like. And I was honest with him about me. But you know what he said that was so impacting to me? And it's a big part of the work that we do with people. So here I am in my prison cell telling him about my box, right? I have this weight and food problem. He didn't ask about food or exercise, all that stuff. He said, what's it holding you back from? It's as if there was this book of my purpose that had been clouded over with the dust of life. And it's like he picked it up and like blew off that dust.
Yeah.
And it's as if he was like, Mark, who were you made to be? Those aren't the words he used exactly, but it was when he said those words, what's holding you back from? It was almost like, well, I don't think about that.
It was holding you back from being your authentic self.
Yes, what was holding me back was not food and weight. It was how I thought about food and weight.
Wow, yeah.
Instead of going out and pursuing who I was made to be, I'm just disgusted at myself for what I've become. And if I can change what's disgusting about me, then maybe I can go do those things. No, go do it now. Like right now, just go. Like the prison door's not locked. It's only locked in your mind because you keep thinking about the problem instead of thinking about your purpose.
You know what? There's Alan, your friend, just did his purpose with you.
Yep.
And you do that in all relationships. That's what I learned the most from you today, is that you can find your purpose and just go into Quick Trip or every single day. It's not doesn't have to be some grand thing.
I agree 1,000% with what you said. Most people are trying to pursue something on their own, and probably the shortcut to all good things in life is to pursue things with people instead. And people are everywhere. They're everywhere all the time. Just say yes when somebody wants to do something with you, and just offer to do things with people. So much about purpose and fulfillment is found in people, but you're right. It's one of the most simple secrets of life. Stop trying to figure out life on your own. Fix yourself on your own. Go love people.
So people are your tools to purpose.
Very much so.
What if you don't like people? Because there's so many times I don't want a people. I mean, I'm going to be real with you, you know?
Mm-hmm. People need you.
Dang it, Mark. That was a good one. That was a good line. That's true, though.
It's true.
It's very true. I like that.
I think that our people always have they're always so connected to purpose as people. So I think many people, the reason they have such a hard time connecting to purpose is because the people closest to them hurt them the most.
Right.
And I know for me, the reason I can so powerfully pursue my purpose every day is because the people in my life, like my friends, my wife, my children who are adults now, they see me in my purpose. They don't see me in my problem. And many people, the only people in their life, see them in their problem, not in their purpose. I want to be Superman every day. But at the same time, I have kryptonite every day because I'm human. Everyone's human. Mm-hmm. And I'm so thankful I have people in my life that in spite of kryptonite, they make sure the cape of calling is around my neck. They don't point me to kryptonite. And many people are surrounded by people that only point them at their kryptonite. And it's hard to go chase your calling when people are constantly pointing at what's wrong with you.
Right.
And so, yeah, people are a massive factor in living this life of purpose.
So from 0 to 100 or 105, whatever you live to, you can find your purpose in
Yes.
every single thing you do. It's really not that grand scheme of me trying to be Oprah here. It's really just
Yep.
what you do in your everyday.
And it's so exciting.
That
'Cause
is exciting.
Because it
Now I want to go to
means
Quick Trip and buy a drink and
that's,
give a guy a high five at the counter.
that's exactly what you should do.
Tell him to have a good day.
I'm telling you, I believe this with all my heart. One of my favorite things that I thought this thought, and now I say it all the time. What our world needs is a movement of common people who are willing to take uncommon steps with other common people. And if that happens, miracles will become common. When common people just meet each other, and when common people who know other common people, like, you want to go walk a hill together? Like, you contacted me, you want to do a podcast?
Yeah.
We don't know each other. Like,
Right.
it would be easier for us to not do this,
Oh, totally.
but not better, just easier. It's just easier not to try anything.
Right.
If common people will do uncommon things with common people, miracles will become common. So yes, the most important thing you can do today is go to Quick Trip and buy a drink and say something to that man behind the counter.
Okay.
That's the greatest thing you can do today.
I'm thirsty, so this is good.
It's an awesome thing to do.
Mark, thank you so much for being on Nat Cash Radio. I mean, episode 2, I think we're getting somewhere, man.
This is fun. You're doing a great thing. People need your voice.
All right, Mark, so you got this book, One Step to Freedom. Mark Delaney, you guys need to check it out. How can people get the book?
Yeah, I hope they get it, because I didn't read it. I didn't write it because I wanted to write it. Like,
See?
I don't want to be an author.
Yes.
Like, I just sat there behind my computer, like, I have this information. How do I keep it to myself? I can't do that. And so you can find it anywhere. Amazon, the normal places, it's out there.
Well, you've been great, man. Thank you for hanging out with me. And next week, it's all about bikes for kids. Gracie Shriver is going to be joining us. And she's got something to do with Bikes for Kids this year. The 10th year for Bikes for Kids. We're going to be talking all about it next week on Nat Cash Radio. Thank you for watching.